Hey Tom, Garrett over here at Predator. Just want to give you a quick walkthrough of your truck that we got here. We got her up on the lift, and I have Paul, our shop foreman and master tech here, going to give us a little insight of what this truck actually has going on with it. One of the first things we're going to look at, guys, is probably one of the most important, the braking system of the H1. Now Paul, if you don't mind showing us some of the issues you found upon your inspection of the brakes.
One of the first things that I found was that the e-brake bracket isn't mounted to the body itself, and the e-clip is not in the front of the actual cable. So what's going to happen is when you pull the e-brake cable, it's not going to work. Just the cable itself is going to move. It will not engage the e-brake itself. Now let's take a look on the other side. We got the same thing going on here, but this one's a little bit more advanced. Same thing, the bracket isn't on there, the e-clip isn't in there. They use a snap ring. You can see this one's actually falling out. So this e-brake is not going to work right now. Best case scenario, you got the driver's side e-brake working only.
Now just moving down the truck, guys, the exhaust. We use a 4-inch stainless steel exhaust, solid all the way back. This one has multiple different sections in it. Paul, if you can't point out a few of them, that'd be great.
Yeah, the first one I saw is how small that the cap back is coming out. It's a 3-inch exhaust. Garrett said we use 4-inch coming all the way down here. And they use a band clamp right there, and they spread it up into a 4-inch right here. So they bring it all the way back down, and then they put some sort of flex pipe right here. Ours is all the way solid, and then rubber mounted right here for support.
One of the next things is actually the transfer case and transmission and shifting this truck. If you can't point out some of the issues you saw as far as clearance and shift linkages, that'd be great.
Alright, so the transfer case here, you can see that they used the stock arm and then modified it by welding another arm with several holes inside of it. On this side right here, you can see this is what they did to actually make the transfer case shift. So I had to go around the exhaust because it wasn't done properly, and they just came up with this hokey deal. You can see that it was just cobbled together with just multiple parts.
What are some of the issues that you see as far as like the mounting of the engine and transmission, as far as clearance issues, and any other things that could be a potential hazard of this vehicle?
Well, they used the stock mounts off of an Alpha. This right here, this one right here, and the transmission cross member right here are all stock from an Alpha. Now Alpha is an H1, however, it is not the same mounting as far as the engine goes in. It's going to set the engine and transmission back another 2 inches and cause clearance issues up top. That's probably why they went with the smaller exhaust, because it was too close to the doghouse to use a 4-inch like we use. Another thing that happened when they moved the engine back is that they had to relocate the fuel filter housing. They relocated it to the front passenger side, right next to the batteries. So they used rubber hose, and instead of stainless steel, they just completely bypassed that. Also with the fuel system right over here, you can see they cobbled together about 4 pieces just to make the 1/2 inch into 3/8 hose. They also used a worm drive clamp right here when it should be these clips right here that retain on the shoulder right there. That's what ensures that it will not come off. Now the cooling system was pretty unique. They kept the stock downpipe right here, and then they capped off the other section that they chose not to use, and you can see it's already starting to fail. It's already starting to crack right here, and the same thing on the other side. So they put about an 8-inch hose with a brass piece, and they just capped it off instead of just capping it off at here or just deleting that piece altogether. Now they brought it around, coming around the bottom of the engine, which we don't do. This appears to be a stock hose, upper radiator hose off of a Duramax engine. However, they went into here into a mild steel pipe, which is gonna rust. And you can already see the outside is already rusting, so for sure the inside is rusting. Then they bring it back around to another hose that I don't really know where this hose came from. So if that thing were to fail, I don't know where to get a replacement for it. Another thing, you see that they use zip ties right here, mounted around the hose to the motor mount, and that's what is securing it from coming down. Same thing right here in the front, along with another mild steel sleeve. The silicone hose right here is okay, however it's a little small.
Hey guys, one of the things that we at Predator pride ourselves in is that factory feel and look of the vehicle. From the electrical to the way we mount things under the hood. Now what Paul's going to do is going to point out some of the things as far as the differences from what we do to how they mounted computer mounts and did some of the wiring that they did in this truck.
All right, so right here, first thing I did was I checked the computers to make sure they were good, there wasn't any problems with them. One thing I did see was that there was about 15 deleted codes in the computers. They did not have a check engine light on there, so you would never know that there was a problem with your vehicle. So right here is where they mounted the computers, the ECM and the TCM. You can see right here, they did use the factory mount. However, they did use a sheet metal screw going straight through the windshield wiper reservoir, and then they isolated it by using silicone on the bottom. Furthermore, to actually hold the computers down onto the housing itself, they used this big zip tie, and that's what held it all together. Like we were talking about earlier, when they used the alpha mounts for the transmission and the engine, and I was saying that the engine was screwed back about another 2 inches or so. This is one of the problems that they had, was that they couldn't mount the fuel filter right here as long as the glow plug control module. It usually resides way back there where it's hard to see, and you actually see the fuel hose that they had used. So they actually took out the stainless steel hose, which is actually a better piece, and they used this silicone hose of some sort, and it goes across the top of the engine and all the way over to where the fuel filter is. They also put the glow plug control module on the side of the firewall. We normally don't mount it there, we keep it in the stock location because we make our own mounts, and it brings the engine forward correctly. So this is the new location for the fuel filter that they did. You can see here that it was actually leaking, and they tried putting some sort of epoxy on there to stop it from leaking. And these are the hoses I was talking about earlier. It's coming across the top of the engine. You can see how both of them go straight up and over the motor. Now this right here is the actual one that they used or should be using. That's the ones that we use, is stainless steel. And another thing I noticed while I was in here is that right above your intake air heater, it's actually broken. It's missing the terminal. So the intake air heater was never turning on, and it's just a factory thing. You should have it, and definitely in colder climates, it's going to help your starting and reliability.
Hey guys, Gary here again. I just wanted to thank Paul for giving us this walkthrough of this truck, and I want you guys to stay tuned for the next phase of what our Duramax conversion actually should look like.